Saleem, today's presenter will be starting with Assalamu alaikum.
Islam.
Water, Saleem?
Oh, I got one.
Oh, you got one.
That shit just let it run instead of closing it out. Okay, here we go. That smart water, I tell my grandboy, I said that y'all want to do good in your schoolwork, drink that smart water. They've been drinking it too. So inshallah, maybe that help. Alright. Assalamu alaikum. We'll go ahead and open up with today's Talim. Like I said earlier, this is Admiral Saleem. And today's topic will be Janazah. Janazah. Before we go into details about today's Talim, we'll just go ahead and open it up here. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli wa salim wa bari'adika wa rasulika Muhammadan sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa alihi wa sahbihi ajmeen. That's translated to believers. O Allah, let your prayer and your peace and your blessing be upon your servant and your messenger Muhammad and upon his family and all of his companions. Amen. Okay, once again, I'd like to greet everybody who's listening abroad virtually. And those who are present today here at the Muslim Center Montgomery, I greet you in the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Islam.
So for those who are listening virtually, please just make sure you mute your phones, and then when there's opportunity to chime in, because this is Talim, and you know there's a question to ask. If you want to share your opinions, feel free to do so. So please just make sure you mute your devices. Today's Talim is going to be on Janazah. And those, some of the brothers and sisters that are present here, that's in this community, you know, they all pretty much are aware that, you know, my mother, who recently passed here, you know, just a little bit over a week ago. And it started to make me, you know, dawn in those who have a lot of Christian families, you be in the center of their funeral and in the midst of a lot of questions, because a lot of times they try to see, you know, what's your understanding, what you Muslims gonna do Why are you doing this? Why are you not saying that? And so I found myself pondering and thinking about a lot of things. There were some similarities, and then there was a lot of differences. You know, especially when you attend Christian funerals. But out of respect, because of family members, you know, as believers, we do have to pay them with respect. But I just want to open up, just get your attention here. And I started just talking about, you know, with Islam, about the people in general, you know, the human race. You know, we always talk about, you know, we say Allah had created the human race. But then I started looking at the numbers for some reason. I was probably listening to someone else. And I did a little research and come to find out, you know, there's over 8 billion people on this earth right now today. 8 billion. And you know, if you know the statistics and data, and about 2 billion of those people are Muslims. 2 billion, and it's steadily growing. It's steadily growing. So that's a lot of people. When I'm sitting here, those who travel abroad, you'd be surprised. That's the beauty of traveling. You'll start to open your mind and just start, you know, like it's more to it than just Montgomery. It's more to it than just Alabama. It's more to it just the United States. It's a whole world out there of people. 8 billion people. Now, because today's Saleem, for those who just came in, the topic is my Janazah. And on the flip side of that, I did a little punch of some more numbers, come to find out that there's 385,000 births are born each day. People are born each day. Almost 400,000 people are born each day. And of course, because of this Talim, come to realize almost half of those people die each day. About 150, 160,000 people die each day. And that's, when you look at it, what that's telling us. When you really look at it and you think about your Janazah and you look at the numbers, what that's telling us. For me, one, it stood out that, you know, we constantly remind ourselves, stand on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. That's a path, right? That's a path, a straight path, right? And then it started dawn on me, that path also, for y'all math majors, is a straight line, right? And guess what? We all are in that line. We constantly ask Allah to keep us on that straight path. Towards what? And the first thing we're going to experience is death. And you don't know where you at in that line. You don't know you're at the tail end of that line. You may have decades to go. You may be at the front of that line. But the realization of it, we are all on that Sirat al-Mustaqim. And the way we stay on that is that we stay within the folds of Al-Islam to make sure that we live a righteous and upright life. You know, so that when that time comes, then all the other things will take care of itself. So when we look at that, you're in that line, that's what's so beautiful about Islam. I can't make your salat up for you. I can't fast for you. I can't give your zakat for you. I can't, take your spot in that line. We love our wife, we love our children, we love our mother, and you and your father, you see them transitioning forward in that line. You can't do nothing about it. You can't do not one thing about it. But there's believers, there's a lot of things that we can do while we are here. That's a lot of things that we can do. So I just want to briefly talk about some of the Janazah etiquettes and traditions and rights and some of the do's and don'ts. And hopefully, inshallah, that'll probably be about the sum of this Talim. The Prophet Muhammad said, 3 things will follow you to the grave. And this Talim now, I'm going to stop at that hadith there. I'm just going to ask for it. We hear this quite often. Can I give, what's the first thing you come to mind? Anybody?
That follow you to the grave?
Mm-hmm.
Deeds. I know that's one.
Deeds, family, what else? What are we striving so hard for every day, man, to do, to provide? To make sure we do live a good life.
Can't think of the third. I know deeds is one of them.
Deeds,
Yeah. Your finances.
There you go, your wealth.
Yeah.
Your wealth. That's what we do every day. You know, you got to go out there and pay the bills. You got to put food on the table. That's wealth. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of yourself. You got to put clothes on your back, shoes on your feet. So you have to accumulate some type of wealth. Now, I didn't say how much. We're not saying that, because some people in this society, we think we being wealthy mean we got a bunch of bling bling and a bunch of flash and a bunch of rims. That's not wealth. But I see it. I see debt. That's what I see. As believers, we see a wasteful opportunity that you could have gave some zakat, sadaqah, to those who are in need. So when we look at that, and you think about it, and he said the two things will come back, and only one will remain with you. And what are those two things going to come back after they bury you?
Your family.
Your family. And what else?
And your wealth.
Your wealth. What's going to remain with you?
Your deeds.
Your deeds. So while you are here, dear believers, and you stand on that sorority and you're trying to live a righteous life, you are trying to build up and pile up all these good deeds. All the good deeds. Men, we got our brothers here, and most of them are married. Do you know how far that good deed will go when you go open that door for your wife? It'll start, the deeds, you'll get rewarded almost instantly. You may get a hot meal, you may get the kids, you'll be like, okay, no worry, baby, I iron your clothes and uniform for you in the morning. And just vice versa. And that deed gonna be there at your grave when you go to the grave. So we constantly have to always remind ourselves that the deeds are what's gonna remain with us as believers. In the Islam, death is viewed as a transition to another state of existence, what we call the akhirah, the afterlife, right? The hereafter. So if we got that focus there, and I was reading on this particular topic, I was surprised that there were so many hadiths that the Prophet Muhammad SAW addressed, staying focused on the afterlife. And he was constantly telling, and he preached the same thing, is that you should be thinking about that more so than anything else here on this earth. You should be, they asked him, how much should I be thinking about it? Once hadith, the brother said a week. Some said a month. Some said, all year, half a year. It just went on and on and on. And the Prophet just kept on re-emphasizing that you should they could never come to a conclusion, because you always should be thinking about it. And in doing so, if you're thinking about that, what happens when a person, on a lot knows, but they start to realize they starting to transition, and maybe their health is failing them. What they start doing? They start thinking about what?
Preparing themselves.
Yeah, the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Because death is fast approaching. And what they start doing?
Getting in order.
Not all getting in their order. So while we are here, and we don't know where our spot is in that line, this is the opportunity now. Like the Prophet says, you should be constantly thinking about it. And if you're thinking about it, and you making dua and supplication about it, and you asking for Allah's mercy, you would do more. You would do more good. It's like I need to get my stuff in order. I need to get a living will. I need to, we hear this phrase, generational wealth. You got to be thinking about your family, your children, and their children, and the next generation. What you doing now? You can honestly just go get a simple, if you 30, 40 years old, you can go get a simple term insurance for about $20, $25 for about $400,000. See, you thinking about those things, because you don't know where your spot is in that line. We can walk right out here today, and you are in the front of that line. So we have to constantly be thinking about this. We don't have meetings, we don't have trainings on what we need to do to prepare for our Janazah, get people from that. It's like, if you don't constantly think about it, you can have a meeting about it, and then go 6 months and don't thought about it. And look how many Janazah, how many funerals we done attended in those 6 months. because we didn't take no action. We just thought about it, and we didn't contemplate on it. So so we as believers, we constantly have to do that. You say where you go in the afterlife depends on how well you follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ during our lifetime. Because when you place in that grade, that's when the question is going to start and be answered. You can't do good now. You can't do nothing. And as Muslims, we should believe that if we live a good life, we should go to paradise after we die. That's our belief. We should, and if you have that type of incentive, if you have that type of motivation, you should have a little pep in your step. And people should be like, man, what you on? Hmm? What you doing? That's that good spirit they see. So if not, you can easily find yourself separated from all that is good in this world. Think about it. And one of the big things, when I read that and I thought about that, when we are not contemplating on doing good, we can find ourselves separated, isolated, not frequenting the masjid, not reading the Quran. Now all of a sudden, you can easily find yourself off that path. Easy. If you're not constantly thinking about the hereafter. Therefore, our Janazah should serve not only to comfort the grieving, that's those who are present, but it also should be the opportunity to pray to Allah and to grant the deceased mercy. And I know, brothers, we have been in many Janazahs, and that's what we be praying for. We be praying to Allah to grant the deceased, that their brother or sister, or your parent or loved one, mercy. That's all you can do now. You can't take their place. You can't, you hear people take, oh, why you didn't take me? You should have took me. You ain't lying. Don't worry about it. You are in line. You just don't know the time. Abu Hurairah reported that the Messenger of Allah said, when the human being dies, his deeds end except for three. Like we talked about, ongoing charity, beneficial knowledge, and a righteous child who prays for him. Think about that. Ongoing charity. So when we give zakat, when we donating to build a masjid, that's where it comes in. Build a masjid. And Allah would say what? He would guarantee what?
House of paradise.
Yeah. So that's ongoing charity. And I'm looking at the brothers and sisters. We don't gave hundreds and thousands of dollars to build a masjid. It hasn't not even came into position yet. We still giving. That's ongoing charity. And it's going to keep going. If my time is, if I'm in the front of the line, it's going to keep going. But the little change I have given, that's what's going to be part of my deeds. Beneficial knowledge. Can nothing be no more beneficial than this? The Quran. Study it, read it, and then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with the believers. Get in a little group discussion like we're doing now. In a righteous child. I think I was talking to somebody. I think it was Mustafa or something. One of the brothers. How important it is that you leave a child back as a believer, Muslim. So if Allah calls you back, inshallah, he'll be standing there in the ranks at your Janazah, praying for you. While everybody else don't know what's going on. Majority of our Christian family, but you will see that child. You see your son, your daughter praying for you. A righteous child. Because that let everybody know that what you left behind, that you left a righteous child. And then if you left a righteous child, that means you have to have a righteous home. You can't raise a good child in a home built on sand. So that means it tells the whole story. You got a good wife. I think you did all the work now. So it's an accumulation of everything. So what is an Islamic Janazah? And when I was reading and doing, please mute yourself if you get a chance. It is considered to be a community or the Ummah experience. Those who have not been to one or experienced one, if you're new into this community, that's what it is. And you can see how the word gets out and how the believers come together when Allah calls one of his children back. So when you think about it, it's an Ummah experience. So when you hear that, you should make it your effort, your intention to attend if you can. See, as Muslims, we believe that a funeral should be a very spiritual occasion. A very spiritual. Everyone in attendance participates in what the salat. You go to a janazah, you don't see people over there checking their phone. You don't see people over there cheering or eating. Everybody is in attendance, not distracted. None of that's going on. Because what we doing, we praying to Allah to have mercy, and not only for the deceased, but also for all the other Muslims who died prior to that. So then it's just not an individual thing. So when someone, as a Muslim, departs or leave here, think about all the other Muslims. Sometimes we'll sit there and start calling out brothers and sisters' names who used to be sitting right here on this floor. They are no longer with us. So when we have a janazah, it's not just that for that one person. It's for all the other brothers and sisters who should be right here in our spot, in that line. There are some traditions that I like to go over briefly here. One important funeral practice or janazah practice in the Islamic faith is that a burial should take place as quickly as possible after death. Now, as Muslims, the majority of us got Christian family, and I just went through that. And there was a lot of things that was going on, and for some reason, they wanted to know my opinion because they knew my faith. So I had to explain to them a lot of things, and that's what forced me to start reading up, more about that. And I found myself explaining that y'all don't do this. We don't, as Muslims, we don't carry on with a lot of, got to get escorted out of the place for a lot of yelling and stuff like that. But it's okay to mourn. It's okay to mourn. You're gonna mourn. If you love someone and they depart here, you will grieve. You will grieve. That it's okay, but it's not really. You've been in. I don't say most of y'all been in church. It's almost like that type of mourning. It get contagious, and it starts spreading because it's so emotional. In today's society, and I thank Allah, and I thank the Prophet ﷺ for these guidance and these hadiths, because it gives us guidance and structure, something to focus on. So the Prophet Muhammad, he got everything in order for the ummah. Just like you should do, like you would do for your home, you should do for your home. He did the same thing for the whole community. So when it's time for us, there's things that we shouldn't do at gravesite. There's things we should do before. There's things we should do preparing the body. So I have discussions with my Christian family about, they say, well, you support this? I say, I can't support that. You support that? No, I can't support that. Well, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna have it real quick. Within 2 or 3 days, I said, I can support that. And it just blew them away. And then I had to find out, when I would answer these questions, we may think, here's the realization of knowing your janazah, and really it's incumbent for everyone to study it so you can be able to articulate it to your family. So if you land up in the hospital, your family know to call the imam. Don't do nothing. Because we don't do no embalming, cremation, all that stuff. They have to know. Somebody have to know. A lot of them, I realized some of my close family members didn't know. And they may be in a position to make decisions. So we got to open up and have that forum, that open conversation. If you don't have a complete household with everybody around you, and you don't know here, you may or may not. You just don't know. You need to have that. Even a believer, sometimes they don't know. You'd be surprised. Who should be paying the debt? There's so many things. There's so many blessings that we can. I'm gonna skip down, and it was talking about what we should do, and then we'll close out as believers. I highlighted it. But while I'm searching for it, is there anything anybody got any questions that come to mind?
Sounds like not a question, but a comment.
Comment.
What you're sharing is very important, especially about making sure that our non-Muslim family members know, but as well as even your Muslim family members. Like I said, you may have Muslim family members that may not know. And in the situation, that occurred with the situation that I sent the text out with the sister in Selma, unfortunately, her body had been embalmed. So, because apparently those that were around her, didn't know. So, So it's, super important. It's vital for your family to know that, if you don't have Muslim family, even if you have Muslim family, if one of us were to pass away, have them contact the leadership, contact myself, that way we can make sure the proper arrangements are put in place to fulfill your burial rights.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Anybody else got any comment? Anybody out there listening have any comment? Okay, briefly, I just want to close out on it. So what's some of the things that we can do that can help benefit our deceased loved one as believers? And there's a few things we can supplicate. We can constantly supplicate. We can do that. We can do charity. It was said the mother of Sa'id ibn Ubadah, radhiyallahu, who died while he was passed away. So he came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "O Messenger of Allah, my mother has died while I was away. Would it benefit her if I gave charity on her behalf?" The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Yes. I would like for you to witness that my orchard and is charity on her behalf." So whatever he gave, you can still do things on a person's behalf. If you see a family member, they trying to pay something, you don't. Oh no, we don't do that. Yes, you can, but you got to have the right intention, the right understanding. You can fast for a person. You can make Hajj. You can paying off the deceased debts. And it came to money to pay off a debt came to the deceased mother, or any donations by a friend. Abu Qatada, radhiyallahu, donated money to pay off debt of the deceased person who was 2 dinars with the approval of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what's happened is that as a community, if Allah has blessed you with those resources, you always can do something, even after a person deceased. But so often, and you see it, so it's a very stressful time for families, and a lot of times you're hearing what people are fighting at funerals, shooting, killing each other at funerals, and it be because of things they could have done. A lot of times it be debt. It be other stuff, that they just don't understand, and it hyphens. I'm not doing this. Well, who got the party? I ain't gonna, and it just continues on. It continues on. It never ends. And there's always, as you start, I encourage the brothers and sisters before we leave here. I also like to encourage you to read and do your research on things what are prohibited while acts at the grave. Because there's a lot of things if they take your body to a Muslim grave, inshallah, that's what you pray for. You'd be surprised if you go to a Christian funeral, they do some stuff that they walk on the graves, they sit on the graves. They want to put paintings and pictures and all that stuff on the grave. And we have to let them know now, while we got breath in our lungs, that these things that we don't do out of respect. And inshallah, they'll give them time. And it may be decades before that time comes. You don't know, but if you have the conversation now, then you won't have to be, no one will have to be trying to explain something in the midst of your mourning and your grief. So inshallah, I encourage all the brothers and sisters, those who are here presently and those who are listening, that we continue to make efforts and pray for those who are deceased, those who are approaching deceased, and understand that we should always look towards doing something that is good. And I go ahead and close out. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our Lord, give us good in this life and give us good in the hereafter, and protect us from the hellfire. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.